Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to another episode of Nadiya Shah Productions. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and I am so thrilled to bring you a double whammy. First of all, it's a live, on-location tour with a real expert of Glastonbury, one of the most spiritual centers in the world. And if you are in the New Age spirituality circle, then you know about this place already. And also, the second big delight that we have is that today we have with us John Wadsworth. Now, John, for all of you YouTubers out there who are into astrology, you've definitely come across his videos. He is absolutely brilliant and so articulate. I actually met him through his YouTube videos, and I had to get in touch with him because he impressed me so much with his work online. He also has an MA in Cultural Astronomy and Astrology from the University of Bath. I am thrilled to introduce you to John and to introduce you to Glastonbury through John. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Nadia. What an introduction.
Yes, well, thank you so much for being on my show.
It's a pleasure, yeah.
I'm so grateful that you would take this moment.
And it's lovely to finally meet. I mean, had all that online interaction.
Exactly. John and I have been interacting online and exchanging astrology information and enthusiasm. And for those of you who are on my Facebook fan page and on my Twitter, you know that I have forwarded many of your videos because they are that good. They're just so insightful, but they're infused with an energy of love. And that's what I love about them, is that they're very technical, but they're also easy to grasp, and you understand that your intention is truly very pure with sharing. So thank you for putting that out there. So what got you into astrology?
That's a big story. Yeah, I was 21 years old, I'd never read my horoscope before, I had no interest whatsoever, knew nothing about it. And then I met a guy in a bar in Spain at the age of 21.
Oh, those guys in bars in
The guy
Spain.
You meet in a bar, you know, it's like sounds like the beginning of a joke. Yeah. But it was very profound, and I started having this conversation with him, and it was the first time in my life I'd really experienced meeting someone where it looked, as I was looking at them, it was kind of like this person was mirroring back who I was. I'd never experienced that. So I was in a bar in this beach bar in Spain, and had this incredible meeting with the guy who, when I looked at him and he looked at me, we recognized each other, and we recognized ourselves in each other. And at the end of this extraordinary half-an-hour conversation, he looked me in the eye and he said, "You're an Aries." Now, I didn't know what that meant. I knew that I was an Aries, but I knew nothing about what that meant. I didn't know anything about the character of an Aries. I knew absolutely nothing about it. But it was that experience of being recognized. I'm like, well, how do you know that? What does that mean? And he handed me this little book. You know, those little books you can buy for £2 or $2 in any shop. You know, just the personality traits and a little year ahead forecast. I was riveted. I couldn't believe that this was describing me, but it was describing a part of me that I wasn't really expressing. I realized I was expressing my life not through my sun sign, which I now understand because of the nature of my chart. But at the time, it was like, this is who I am, you know. And how is this possible? How can the moment when I was born, the time that I was born, express so perfectly who I am? And of course, it was only one aspect of me, but it was such an important aspect. It was a forgotten aspect, and it kind of gave me the permission to be that person. And what happened then, as I having had this revelation, because it was really a revelation, I then went outside. It was a full moon. We were in this remote part of southern Spain, interestingly, right on the point where Europe and Africa virtually touch each other. And they're called the Pillars of Hercules, which I've always thought was significant because it was kind of the beginning of a hero's journey for me, my own hero's journey. And here I am on one of the Pillars of Hercules with this revelation, and I'm lying on the beach with this kind of suddenly infused with this awareness. And I had this epiphany under the night sky, and I can't really rationalize it. I just suddenly knew the relationship between the sky and the earth, and my place within that somehow. And I knew that there was truth in astrology in a way that I can't justify. But I always say I became an astrologer at that moment, that night, that full moon night, the 4th of September 1990. was the night that I became an astrologer, and it happened suddenly in a dramatic moment, and everything I believed, everything I'd experienced, my whole way of making sense of the world disintegrated before my eyes, and a whole new paradigm opened up.
So now that you have been an astrologer for a good, well, quite a while, decades really, you've had a chance to go back and look at what was happening in your chart at that time?
You want to know what's going on in my chart?
I do want to know what was happening in your chart at 21.
Well, it was quite amazing, because that, and this might open up an interesting conversation about the planet that we might associate with astrology, because I have an exact. I mean, there were transits going on. Obviously, the transits around 21 was a Uranus square, there was a Saturn square. So that was background generational context. I think a lot of people open up at 21 with those two kind of generational transits happening.
Well, you either open up or you kind of go through a bit of a chaos and rebellion. But 21 tends to be very significant.
I also had Pluto exactly on my Sun Moon midpoint. Okay, hit 15 Taurus, hit my Sun Moon midpoint. So there was that. But the real clincher, the real extraordinary one, is I have a Venus Saturn conjunction in Aries within 25 minutes of arc. Okay, it's a joyful conjunction, I can tell you. It's Venus Saturn conjunction in Aries, but it's but what Saturn comes slightly before Venus in the conjunction, right? My progressed Sun was progressed conjunct to my natal Saturn to the second.
Wow.
Not even to the minute, but to the second.
And so do you think that correlates, for you, it sounds like Saturn is connected to astrology for you.
Well, it is, and I'll tell you why. Because for me, the way that I work with astrology, I'm very interested in containment of space. Obviously, with the Venus-Saturn conjunction, containment's important to me. I'm interested in the idea of, I'm interested in ritual space, that idea of containment. I'm interested in boundary. And the way I work experientially with astrology, boundary is fundamentally important. You know, I mean, for me, to engage astrologically, to work with either with a client one-to-one, or to work with a group in a workshops type of situation, the way that the space is held is fundamental. I tend not to engage in what I call astrological gossip. I have a Gemini moon, so I could. But I tend not to, because I feel that it's, for astrology, I'm interested in transformation, and I'm interested in healing, and I'm interested in the power that astrological symbolism has to effect a transformational experience. And in order for transformation to happen, I believe, you know, the way that you can facilitate that is to hold a space. I think the zodiac is its own kind of alembic, its own alchemical alembic, and I think that that's an important aspect of astrology for me. That's why I like to work with the zodiac. And to be honest, it was the zodiac that woke me up more than astrology. It was this idea of the zodiac. And for the first year after this happened, it was the zodiac that I was fascinated by. And the idea that we might carry a zodiac around with us. And this is the fundamental idea that informs a lot of my work. The idea that each one of us carries a zodiacal imprint in our energy field. And that, so we're not just one sign or two signs or three signs, depending on where our planets are, but we're the whole wheel, and we carry the whole wheel within us. And so the basis of a lot of the work that I do now, and the work I do here in Glastonbury, really stems right back to that originating awakening.